no military planner is going to invade a nation of 44 million people, 200,000 troops.
Exactly.
It just isn't sound planning if you're seeking to fight a war. But if you were seeking sort of a shock and awe kind of rapid advance, the inevitability of defeat, assurances of non-resistance, and then hopefully the collapse of the government, replacing with a new government. We don't know what the Russians had in store because they're being very reticent about this thing. So we're compelled to do some analysis. But the goal was to get a quick and easy victory in Ukraine that would secure the Donbass, which the promise that Putin made about the Russian people protecting them, secure Crimea, and get a neutral Ukraine and do it so impressively that NATO said, wow, we don't want to take on the Russians. We would prefer, this new European security framework.
Yeah.
I still think that's the Russian objective. They haven't changed their objectives. It's just that the price that's going to be paid is, by all parties, is far greater.
Zelensky, the great warrior that we in the Western media have made him out to be, is he a true statesman? Is he the Churchill of Ukraine? Or is he actually just a fool caught between his own extreme right?
I'm never going to denigrate the intelligence of Volodymyr Zelensky. He's a lawyer, so obviously he has enough innate intelligence to graduate law school. But let's just be clear who he was. He was a comedian who played a president on a wildly popular Ukrainian TV show, Servant of the People. I've seen it. He's funny. It's a funny show. Very illuminating about the corruption that's inherent throughout Ukraine. But what happened was Ukrainian politics is so messed up that Petro Poroshenko, who was the incumbent president running for re-election, was so unpopular that the oligarchs who were opposed to Poroshenko, who was himself an oligarch, the chocolate man, said, "No, we're going to put this actor who played a president before the Ukrainian people and convince him that he can be president." Now, when you read into the campaign of Zelensky, it was a horrible campaign. I mean, he's horribly unqualified. His answers to any question were just ridiculous, shallow. But the Ukrainian people weren't into substance; they were into superficiality. Poroshenko was so reviled that they picked this guy to be the breath of fresh air. He failed immediately. He was incapable of governing. He was elected with, I believe, 78% popular vote. Within less than a year, that number had plummeted to under 25%. The man started suppressing free speech, closing down opposition media. He was under pressure from the right wing. He was told, if you implement Minsk, you will be hung by the neck until you're dead. And it's not me making this up. They videotaped them saying it. They have the head of, I forget what the movement was, C-19 or something like that. They know we told them. You sign it, we'll hang you. You'll die right here. Wow, in America, if you threaten the president like that, the Secret Service will swarm your house and take you away, and you will not be in society for many, many years. Rightfully so. But no, they can get away with that because that's the nature of the Ukrainian regime. This is a man who stumbled into this conflict. He's scared. He's intimidated. He's a little child looking for handouts, begging. And his masters have played him like a fiddle. Is he the Churchillian figure? One of the quotes, just to answer that question briefly, one of the quotes that established his stature as this great military man wearing his olive green tactical shirts because he's such a fighter. He hasn't fought in his life. But there was when someone said, maybe you need to leave, we can get you out of Kiev. And he said, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition.
Yeah.
He never said it. We now know that we knew at the time because I was sitting there going, okay, that's a heck of a quote, but where'd it come from? An unnamed U.S. intelligence official at the U.S. Embassy. says that this is what Zelensky said. And now the U.S. government straight up admits Zelensky never said it. We wrote it. We released it. That's Zelensky in a nutshell. Is manufactured. Every speech he gives, every quote he gives, everything. When he spoke to the British Parliament, he read a speech written by his MI6 handlers about, which invoked Churchillian type phraseology. He didn't come up with that. Mm-hmm. When he spoke to U.S. Congress, he talked about, American history and the founding fathers. He didn't come up. That was written by his CIA handlers. This man is purely a manufactured tool of the West. And watch how quick the West dumps him. And he's on the way out right now. He is inconvenient at the moment. People don't like him anymore. He's not he's a beggar. He's whining. He's pleading for more money. And I think you're going to see he's going to be pushed out, and probably his chief of staff of the military is going to take his place. But Zelensky's not Churchill. Zelensky's a tool. He's a puppet. That's
Putin's soldiers are mobilized. They trained, ready to move, are on the move. 40% of the Ukraine is without electricity. Some say that Europe will face within the next month or two the possibility of a stream of refugees. Some people say 3, 5, up to 8 million refugees. The European economy is shaky, to say the least.
Well, let me put it this way. There's no such thing as 100%. Vladimir Putin could have a heart attack today, fall down dead. And then the Russians go into because I don't think he has a well thought out succession. So there could be infighting in Russia, and next thing you know, Russia's lost focus and can't. You can come up with any scenario. But if I were in Vegas, I would never bet against Russia losing this war, ever. You could offer me whatever odds you wanted. I would never bet against Russia losing this war. Russia will not lose this conflict. The question now is, how do you define victory? Because it's no longer this war will end on Russia's terms. There will be no negotiated settlement. Ukraine doesn't have any cards to play. The poker game's over. It closed on April 1st in Istanbul, when Ukraine could have got a deal at that time. Putin was looking for a way out because his gambit failed. And he was sitting there saying, okay, let's close this thing down. Let's keep Donbass, Crimea. But, we're done with this. We tried the quick and easy thing. It didn't work. We only have 200,000 troops. We're not ready. Ukraine withdrew under pressure from the West. It was Boris Johnson that came in and said, no deal.
Yeah.
And now the Russians have sacrificed a lot, and they've mobilized, and this will end on Russia's terms. The only negotiation will resemble that which took place in Tokyo Bay in September 1945, when the Japanese had to stand before a table with the American conquerors and sign the terms dictated by the United States. Russia will dictate terms. So it's up to Russia what Russia wants out of this. I can't sit here and say with full confidence what I know what Russia says it wants. It wants demilitarization. That means that all NATO influence is eliminated from the Ukrainian military. Since the Ukrainian military is a de facto proxy of NATO today, it means the total destruction of the Ukrainian military.
Yeah.
So either Russia is going to kill them all, and Russia is prepared to do so now. There's no more soft glove approach. The Russians are in the business of killing Ukrainians, and business is good. They're slaughtering them on the front, and they're going to kill them more. 10 to 15 divisions are showing up very soon. Ukraine's got nothing to respond. Russia is taking out at will. Russia can attack Ukraine top to bottom, left to right at will. There is no air defense system in Ukraine worthy of the name. It's, they shoot down 1 or 2 missiles, everything else gets hit, and Russia can do whatever it wants in Ukraine right now in terms of taking out critical infrastructure. The key here for Russia is how to manage, because let me put this too. Europe and the United States sought to impose massive sanctions on Russia. Mm-hmm. Sanctions that weren't designed to hurt Vladimir Putin and the oligarchs and all that. Yes, they were. Sanctions designed to hurt the Russian people, to starve the Russian people, to have their livelihoods eliminated through economic collapse, to bring about domestic calamity in Russia. So if you're a Russian citizen, you need to wake up to this reality that the West is not this warm and fuzzy thing. It is a brutal, thuggish entity that sought to bring harm to you, to deny your ability to raise your children, deny your ability to have a job, deny your ability to have health care, pension, everything. They wanted to crush Russia. So beware the West, because soon the only hope you have is Russian goodwill, because your economy is going down. It's collapsing, not because of anything Russia did, because of what you did, what we did in seeking to isolate Russia, sanction Russia. It has failed. Russia has emerged with a very solid economy while Europe is suffering, and Europe's going to suffer egregiously. So Russia is going to play whatever cards they can, up to and including, because there's a reason behind the madness. It's not just about taking out electric power grids to curtail the movement of military forces and command and control. This is about destroying a nation. Russia isn't in the business of saving Ukraine anymore. Russia's in the business of destroying Ukraine and in the process bringing harm to Europe. Russia will, I believe, generate a economic emergency, humanitarian emergency in Ukraine that requires millions of people to flee for their lives. If they stay in their frozen cities, they will die. There will be no food, no water, no electricity, no healthcare, nothing. This is a tragedy, but the West brought it on themselves. And now millions of people are going to flee to the West, and the West is going to have to deal with that problem. Yeah. And suddenly, when this is all said and done, not only will the Russians have destroyed the Ukrainian military, there's also denazification, by the way, which everybody poo-poos in the West. There is a Nazi problem in Ukraine. There won't be when Russia finishes. That is pretty much a guarantee. If you don't understand Russia and how much they hate Nazi ideology and how sickened they are that it has reborn itself rebirthed itself in Ukraine under Western protection. If you think that Stepan Bandera Avenue is still going to be Stepan Bandera Avenue when this is done, if you think there's going to be monuments to Stepan Bandera in Lvov in Western Ukraine, you don't know Russia. Russia will denazify Ukraine, and the cost of that denazification will be horrific. The gloves are off. Russia's not committing war crimes. Everybody's going, this is a war crime. Really? Take a look at what the United States did to Iraq in 1991. I was a part of that. We took out their infrastructure. We took out their electric. We took out their water. We took out it's all dual use. Look what we did to Serbia. We shut the lights out in Serbia in 1999. NATO did. Russia's just doing it better.